Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. Hope you guys are all having a wonderful day. We see Palantir Technologies that is still maintaining its $100 per share threshold. This is an incredible milestone, not only for Palantir, but also for all the bullish investors that have been holding for a long time. You can see the rewards that are really coming to fruition. And in terms of price targets, we see Dan Ives from Wedbush, who's been particularly bullish about Palantir for a long time, comes out with a new price target that may shock some people. And also, you have more increases in price targets across the board. We're going to be talking about why Palantir is continuing to be the name of the game in the headlines today, and along with the markets, we see a rebound after the uncertainty from the tariff scare from the Trump administration. We're seeing some of that being brushed off now. We'll be talking about what things are happening in the market and giving you guys all the up-to-date details. If you're a new or returning viewer, hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos. We're getting close to 23,000 subscribers. Let's see if we can hit it. And of course, not a financial advisor, collecting on the data and dispatching it to you. Now, if you pop it up on the screen here, Palantir still holding at this 103. This is an incredible price action zone. If Palantir is able to maintain support here, I think that would be pretty crazy. We'll see, since Palantir ran up over 22% from that earnings call, if there's any bit of a pullback here, I would not be surprised if we see any type of a profit taking or pullback. But crazy to see the day after earnings that Palantir is still holding at this level. We'll see what kind of price stabilization plays out, but nonetheless, market cap is pretty high right now. Now, before we talk too much about price action, here is where Dan Ives comes out and says that Palantir is playing chess while others are playing checkers in the AI revolution, raising the price target to $120 per share, saying that the bears will continue to be negative on the valuation, ... Well, they believe Palantir is the next Oracle or Salesforce. Now, that is a very bullish statement, but we're seeing analysts across the board that we'll talk about in a moment here from another article that they're all raising their price targets. The bears are always going to continue to be negative on valuation. That's the number one criticism, and the valuation has just got astronomically higher for Palantir. I mean, nobody knows where this price is going here now in the future. With this and the soaring reaching these new highs, some of the analysts that have came in after this 22% jump, of course, you had Wedbush, like we just talked about, Dan Ives, but you also have Bank of America analysts raising their price targets to $125 from $90 while still maintaining a buy rating. So they see Palantir is actually enabling and leading the AI revolution in both commercial and defense markets. They believe that the Trump administration focus on AI and the DOGE, the Department of Governmental Efficiency, is going to only benefit Palantir. And I can see how DOGE is going to continue to benefit Palantir just due to the fact that they're working on cutting a lot of governmental waste to replace or to basically backfill some of that production or efficiency that might need to take place in terms of workload. AI could be that answer. Palantir has close ties with the government, and with the Trump administration, could be a large solution to cutting waste. You also see UBS analysts here raising their objective for the stock to $105 from $80. So a lot of analysts coming across the board now pushing price targets past $100. Crazy to see here. Morgan Stanley also talking about Palantir being overvalued. They know, but increase their price targets to $95 from $60. So you can see across the board here, pretty astronomical. What you can see, Palantir is continuing to beat the doubters, and these price targets across the board I think are only going to be bullish, not only from the retail perspective, but also the institutional side. We've already seen this kind of FOMO type cascade that's been piling into Palantir ever since it broke out over the 50s. I think we've seen a lot of FOMO institutional buying. We've seen it on the data, has been accumulating shares at a very rapid pace, and I think this might only continue this trajectory here, especially in the near future. One of the big reasons is because Palantir, America right now, is fully embracing this AI revolution. And that's also with the change administration here. Stargate, that project that was announced with $500 billion, they're saying, over the next how many years is going to be invested into AI projects. Right now, everybody wants to get a piece of the pie, and that is AI. And especially here in this AI global race, Palantir right here, continuing to produce in both the commercial and the governmental sector, is being a leader in the industry. The long-term positioning play here for Palantir, they see talking about value as a safe haven with the current environment, maintaining the market here to, talking about valuation. Yes, we do know that valuation, like I had mentioned before, is crazy high. But even RBC Capital, who's maintained mostly a bearish perspective, what we've seen historically, coming out here raising their price target to $40 per share. They used to be at like $5. So producing this long bet on what Palantir is going to do over the next decade, continuing to view Palantir as a true leader in the AI sector, everybody is starting to agree with that. Regardless with how overvalued it is, what the price to earnings is, yes, it's very high, but everybody is starting to focus on Palantir. And we're seeing a lot of media outlooks that are reporting on it and putting its name in their headlines. This is only going to continue its exposure. Looking at the broader market, you see the NASDAQ actually closes higher today. Just specifically looking at the indexes here, S&P 500 up about 0.7%, NASDAQ up about 1.3%, doing fairly well and basically taking a breather from the uncertainty of what the Trump tariff shakeup is going to look like. We also saw Palantir, now that it's actually in the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, up over 22%. That helped bring up these broader indexes to a stable footing. The latest in the tariff information that we've got is the Chinese government here actually slapped tariffs of up to 15% on the U.S. now. So now imports of coal, liquefied natural gas, and 10% higher duties on crude oil, farm equipment, we could see price increases from across the board. This tariff move is not just an economic type of move, it's a large political type of move on who has the power in terms of import and export. Remember, we had the Canadian Prime Minister that came out and said that they're actually going to be Trump paused the implementation of tariffs against Canada for at least 30 days. So tariffs bring uncertainty and some fear to the market due to the I word, inflation. We even had Trump come out and say that prices could increase here in the short term, but the long term is more what is the necessity for America's win. I guess we don't know truly what that's going to mean in the long term and how that's going to play out in terms of an economic standpoint. But what we can say is I think the markets are starting to absorb a little bit of all this tariff mumbo jumbo. We've been talking about it for days, if not weeks now. You've seen the threats across the board. Now China imposing tariffs on the U.S. At the end of the day, I don't think the tariffs are going to lead to a crazy big impact, and the fact that this is more of just a political type standpoint. Interesting quote here talking about eventually we're going to end up with like a 5 to 10% tariffs on most important goods, and that is terrible. This is actually bringing revenue into the U.S. So not these extremes like the market is scared of. I don't know. I just don't think it's going to be that big of a thing. A lot of people are talking about it right now. We could see some prices for utilities and things like that increasing in the short term. Of course, nobody likes that. Nobody likes their utility bill higher. But nonetheless, I think this is just a big, big phase that everybody's talking about. Will there be tariffs? Yeah, it sounds like there's going to be. What's going to be the long-term impact? I don't think it's going to be as catastrophic as some people are predicting. Looking at here, some of the big stocks releasing earnings. Nonetheless, remember we had Palantir, but AMD delivers a modest beat and raise for the fourth quarter report right here. And AMD actually still continued to fall a little bit. AMD stock initially rose, but then retreated. It was down more than 5% to 112 after coming off of a decent earnings. Talking about here, 2024, they say it was a transformative year for AMD. And looking to 2025, they see clear opportunities for continued growth based on strength of the product portfolio and growing demand for high performance and adaptive computing. I think once AMD gets more into the AI limelight, once we see them kind of talking about launching new projects, collaborations, that's where I think is where we're going to see the reversal in AMD, just because, like I mentioned before, everybody's trying to get a piece of that pie. You see here, sitting here at 119, up about 5%, but down, sitting at 108 in the after hours. The dip opportunity for AMD, I think, is something that I'll be exploring more and could be reporting on. We have NVIDIA. Stock rises here a little bit. Talking about these tariff threats, that's a big question, especially with importing any type of tariffs from the Asian countries. How that's going to occur, how it's going to affect NVIDIA in terms of supply constraints. We know demand is there, but supply constraints, importing, exporting, tax, la da 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 da. There's going to be some uncertainty, I think, with this tariffs that will continue to kind of linger and surround for NVIDIA. Unfortunately, it's not NVIDIA's fault, but just from a political standpoint, that is where NVIDIA, I think, is taking a little bit of tension. Other than that, what do you make of these price targets? What's happening in the market, especially with these tariffs? Peace, I'll take care, and I'll catch you guys later. Hope you all have a wonderful day.